So just like I tried to do in recitation, I'm going to go over a block diagram reduction problem, and I'm just going to take a very naive approach. Now, before you go into learning all of the rules of block diagram reductions and sort of little shortcuts you can take, I think it's a good practice to just take, for the first couple you do, just take a very naive approach just to see that block diagram reduction is nothing more than simple algebraic manipulation. So in this naive approach, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to label all of the outstanding nodes. Then I'm just going to write down the equations for all the nodes, and then I'm going to manipulate those equations so that I actually get the relationship between the input and output that I want. Okay, so again, the first thing I do is I'm going to write down all the nodes. I have a lot of nodes in this practice problem, but I'm simply going to start. I have my gains are denoted by A, my input is denoted by R, my output is denoted by Y. All the nodes that aren't labeled already, so those that aren't R and Y, I'm going to start labeling from B on. Really straightforward. So this one will be B, C, this one is already Y, D, E, this one here will be F, this one will be G, H, this one will be I, J, and K. Okay, so I've labeled, just all I've done is I've labeled all the nodes. There's no trickery here, there's no nonsense. I just want to have a name for each node as I naively step through all the equations. So now I just need to build relationships between all the nodes I've labeled. So I'll start with B. I know that B is equal to R minus K minus J. Okay. C is going to be equal to A1B. Y here, or I'll just skip to D. D is equal to A6 times Y. E is equal to A7 times D. F is equal to A4, that's a 4 there, A4 times Y. G is equal to E plus F. Okay. H is equal to A3 times G. Okay. I is equal to A2 times C. J is equal to H plus I. K is equal to A8 times Y. Okay, so now we have a lot of equations, and we need to reduce this so we get one equation such that I have a relationship between R and Y. So, let me write down my equation for Y2. Y is equal to A5 times C. Okay. So again, Y, just get Y from here. The one node that's feeding into Y right here is C times A5 gives me Y. Okay. All right. So now what I can do is I can take all of these equations and simply collapse them together just with simple algebraic manipulation to get a relationship between the two. So the first thing I want to do is I want to separate out the equations I definitely want to keep. So the equations I definitely want to keep are going to be this first one. Well, I'm going to need them all, but I'm going to need one, and then everything with Y I want to keep track of as well, because I'm going to be using those, because whenever I get anything close to Y, I want to sub Y in. So basically, one, I want to manipulate one so I have an expression that is just for R, because I want to set R equal to eventually to Y. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with equation 1, and I'm going to give myself R is equal to B plus K plus J. Okay. So that's what R is equal to. I've just shifted the K and the J over, so I have R is equal to B plus J plus K. Okay. All right. Now from this step, I can start doing other simplifications. I know that C is equal to A1 times B, and Y is equal to A5 times C. So I know if I take equation 2 and this equation 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and equation 11, and put those two together, I get a relationship for Y in terms of B. So if I collapse 2 and 11 together, I have, so this is just 1. If I collapse 2 and 11 together, I get C is equal to A1B, and C is equal to C is equal to A5 inverse Y. So I divide both sides by Y, okay, which means that, if I put these two together, I know that Y is equal to A1, A5, B. So I'm just putting those two equations, so I have a relationship for B in terms of Y. So I know B is set here. So now I need a relationship for K. So looking for K, I know that K is simply equal to A8Y. Great. So using equation 10, that gives me K is equal to A8Y. Great. So now I have an equation for B and an equation for K, and now I need to pull out an equation for J. J is a little bit more complicated, but we'll work it out. So just using 9, and we're going to end up using everything else in this process. Using 9, I have J is equal to H plus I. Okay, H plus I. So H is equal to A3G, and I is equal to A2C, so J is going to be equal to A3G plus A2C. And again, that's using these two equations. That's equation 8 and equation 7. To sub in for H and I, and we get that. And now we have C here, and we know C already is equal to this, so we know we're set for this one. So all we need is G here. So looking at that term, A3G, okay, using equation 6, we're going to get J is equal to A3 times E plus F plus, and we can substitute this in for what we have already, A2 over A5 Y. So we already have a Y term here, and we just need to get Y terms for this E and this F. Okay, we're going to use these other equations. F comes out nicely because it already is related to Y. So F is already equal to A4Y, so we can just say J is equal to, we'll use 4 and 5 now. 4 and 5. Equations 4 and 5. So J is equal to A3 times the equation for E, which is A7D, plus the equation for F, plus A3A4Y, plus A2 over A5Y. Great, so now we have two substitutions for Y and this for D, but D is just equal to A6Y, 3. Using 3, we substitute in J is equal to A3, A7, A6, Y plus A, believe that is A2 there, A2, A4, Y. What is that? No, that's A3. A3, A4Y plus A2, A5Y. Okay. So that gives me something for J. So I have back to equation 1. Now J is in terms of Y. That's here. J in terms of Y. K in terms of Y. That's here. And B in terms of Y. That's here. Okay. So B was actually, if we put this in, B was actually equal to A1, A5y. So that's equal to y over A1, A5 in terms of B. So great, now we have all of these together. So we can just say R using equation 1, the equation we built down here in this equation. We say R is equal to the term we have in B, which is 1 over A1, A5. And the third equation we have for K plus A8 plus A3, A7, A6 plus A3, A4 plus A2 over A5y. And there's our input-output relationship between R and Y. Again, the approach here was naive. We just labeled all the nodes and then we stepped through all the equations. With a little practice, this will be second nature to you, and it's more robust than trying to remember the rules of substitution, because this is simple algebra that you've been doing since you were a 10th grader. So the more you get used to this type of manipulation, the more comfortable you will be. And then later on, the more comfortable you'll be actually using the rules, because you'll see that the rules are simple extensions of this simple algebraic manipulation. All right, good luck.